drops him with the left hand, and the fight is over. Julian Rodrighez, hammer hands is eaten. Yes.
Living up to the name, hammer hands.
And we all appreciate you joining me in the Living Room Podcast.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, it's no problem, man. I got Julian Rodrighez here. He go by the name Hammer Hands. He's a boxer, man. He gets it in. I've seen this man on videos. He's been knocking dudes out, man. I see you, man. Like, tell me, because I want to know, how did you even get into boxing? Like, how did that even come about for you?
Well, I was about 7 years old, and my mom at the time was going through she was taking classes, I think, for like skincare. So no one was able to watch me after school. So basically my dad would train. He would go to the local PAL in North Bergen. He would train, but he didn't, want to pursue it in terms of a career. So I would just follow him around. And at the time I was a big WWF fan. So I really liked The Rock and I liked all those people. So when I would go to the boxing gym, I would go in the ring and do all those wrestling moves. And one day he was hitting the bag and he turned to me. He's like, "Hey man, like, if you're gonna get in the ring, it's to do the real stuff, not to do that fake stuff." So I'm like, all right, man. Now remember, this was a time when there was no iPads, there was no, I didn't have a phone, a cool phone. So I was just sitting there and that gym was hot every day, man. So basically I just got up out of boredom and started hitting the bag. And now looking back, I don't know if my trainers were blowing smoke, but they were very surprised to see the natural ability I had at that time. So I guess that in combination with being bored and not having anything else to do kind of just motivated me to take it serious. And then after like about 2-3 months or so, they put me in with a kid that was bigger than me and actually was a boxer. And I'm here sparring him thinking that it's just we're playing a game, and I'm punching him and stuff. And I notice that he starts crying and he starts bleeding out his nose. And I'm like, oh man, like, I didn't want to hurt him or nothing like that. But after that, I go to the corner and my coaches, they surround me and they're like, "Look, man, do you see what you just did to that kid? That kid's really a fighter, and you're here just taking it, this is a joke to you. So if you put your mind to it and you really pursued it the right way, big things could come your way." And at that point, once my dad saw the potential, he stopped training to just focus 100% on training me. So.
Got it. And you grew up in the New Jersey area, correct?
Yeah.
And I know, there's some greats. There's some greats from up that way, from hip hop to you know what I'm saying, to boxing, everything. Who was your influences coming up in boxing?
Well, when I started, I was in North Bergen. Then I eventually moved to in terms of my gym location. My gym was in Patterson, Joe Greer boxing gym, when it was on River Street. And at that time, we were surrounded by a lot of pros, and it was pretty much one of the best gyms in the area. It was a lot. There was Kendall Holt at the time. There was Omar Shika. We were around. My assistant coaches, they had a lot of world champions. Andrew Sixhead Lewis, Carlos Tamara. These are world champions. So when you're growing up in those gyms with those type of people around you, it's pretty hard not to take it serious because they don't allow that people to joke around them, and it's just a serious vibe. A lot of times I go to gyms and I just see that it's not, just the aggressiveness or the intensity in the gym is not up to par on what you need to succeed in something like this. So I'm just grateful that I was around those type of people, even if a lot of fighters who were good at the time didn't end up making it, like past a certain level, like pros or anything like that. They still played an important role in terms of my upbringing in that field.
Got it. And I'm looking. You had a 19-0 record, man. 19-0 record. You out here dropping dudes. Is that how you got the name Hammerhands? Like, what came behind the whole nickname? What was behind that?
So my dad gave me that name when I was about like 10 years old, and it was because we were big fans of Roberto Duran. So, and he always noticed that as a kid I had this unusual strength for my size and my weight. So long story short, he's like, man, how can I figure out a name for him that's organic and that's fitting, you know? And he just started playing around with the Hands of Stone idea and then Hammer Hands, and he kind of just landed on that.
Man, because 19 wins, you got 19 wins, you got 12 KOs, 25. That's impressive right now. You know, you even got some golden gloves under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing your thing. How was that whole process with you know, because I always want to start from the beginning. How was the process with the whole golden gloves boxing thing before, you know, you got into the pros?
Yeah, well, like I said, I started when I was 7, so I started competing when I was 8. And by the time I was already 9 years old, I was already ranked number 1 in the country for my division and stuff. So very quickly, I was out there gaining all this experience nationally on a national level, not just locally. Or a lot of times, you know, I don't really see kids from around the way really making their way towards those amateur tournaments and winning them. You know, but year after year, I was ranked number 1 in the country. And then once I hit 17, that's when you enter the men's league. And that's when you're eligible to go and be in the Golden Gloves and fight nationally in the men's league in the Golden Gloves. So I did that at 2013, I believe. And I placed gold in that. That was in Utah. So how that works is you fight in the state Golden Gloves. And that's a lot of times when people say, oh, I fought in the Golden Gloves, like, you know, when you see people around, like they're mainly referencing this tournament, like the state aspect, because once you're eligible to be in the men's league and you're open class, which means you have over 10 amateur fights, then if you win the states, you're rated number 1 in your state, but then you go to the national tournament where all the state champions meet up. So basically, when you go to the national level, you're basically fighting the best of every state, and I guess whoever wins that places you number 1 in the country. I did that. I fought for the Olympic trials. I was 17 years old. I believe I won, and then a lot of people did believe I won, but they gave the other guy, he's a professional now. He's actually a world champion, Jamel Herrick. They gave him the decision. But, you know, so ultimately I was the Olympic alternate at 17 years old for 2012. So I think that's pretty cool. You know, and that's sort of, I always had a pro style because of my teammates. A lot of these amateur guys, they sit there and flake and just try to do the point system. But as an early, you know, starting from an early age, I was implementing hard body shots and my power, and that really got the attention of big promotional companies in terms of professionals.
Yeah, so fast forward, you get into the pros. It's your time to put in work. How was that building up to, you know, to your first professional fight? Like, did you feel like you had a lot to lose or a lot to prove? Like, what if you could take yourself back and think about the feelings I was going through you on that first match, how would you describe it?
Well, it was actually coming right off of the Golden Gloves win in Utah, the Nationals. So I pretty much had a good momentum going. And plus, we were making it known that we were ready for the pros anyway, because we weren't really satisfied with how the amateur boxing system was scoring fights and were very biased, and a lot of things were very political, as in every industry. But we just felt like the best fighters weren't winning. And that was scary to us, especially if you wanted to hold out another 4 years to make this Olympic team. All for it to get robbed, for us to get robbed again, or taken from us, or, you know, it was time to take advantage of the opportunities that were there. At the time, my teammate was Glenn Tapia. He was also undefeated at that time, and he was making his way onto that next level, 19, 20-0. So, and we at the time we had the same manager, so it pretty much, they were just flowing me right into the pros. And my first pro fight was in September in Atlantic City, and I had a lot of supporters there. My family and friends came down, and it was a great time. It was the fight lasted like a minute, so, or 40 seconds or something like that. So it wasn't really much of a fight, but the preparation for it was it's always hard. It's always tough on the body.
Yeah, man, because I caught wind of you over a year ago. You know, just came across us, you know, on social media, you come across a lot of people. And the first thing that I actually picked up on you from, it wasn't even boxing, it was music.
Uh,
which was dope because you're a dope boxer, but you also get it in with music too. So how did that passion for music come about in juggling both that and boxing?
yeah, so I started doing music when I was 12 years old. I was always very um, cultured and diverse in terms of my music taste. Um, if I was hanging out with my father, it would be classic rock. If I was hanging out with my mom, or if I was back in North Bergen area, it was rap and hip hop, or R&B, or reggaeton even, because it's a Spanish culture where I grew up. Um, but my dad was my trainer, so, and he was very strict in terms of allowing me to have any type of childhood or life outside of boxing, because it's very easy to go down a different path, you know, especially in areas like that. Um, so basically, I had to figure out some things to do on my own and keep myself occupied at home. And it started out with drawing. I'm a really good artist. Um, then it was like video games for a while, of course, and then it eventually led to me picking up instruments and just learning my way around computers and stuff like that. Also, we ended up moving to more of like a suburban neighborhood for right before I went into high school. And at that time, I noticed there was a lot of rock bands that were starting to form, and I was completely interested in recording them so I can find a way to make some income, because I wasn't able to have a job or go out and do all these things. So I was like, man, like, I'm getting into the music thing. Let me try to find a way to monetize it, especially because at the time my dad didn't really agree with the whole music thing. He thought that was just a distraction, and in a way it was, because when I pick up a new hobby, I dive into it 100%. That's just the type of person I am, and that's good and bad, because then it'll take away from other important things that should have my attention. So that started to happen. He started to see me staying up late on the computer all the time, and then I would be tired for the gym or for school. And so at first, I didn't really rub him the right way, but he started to understand that, hey, he really started to understand once I was around 17, 18, and I was home on Saturday nights and I was home on Friday nights doing production or recording bands or doing whatever. So he really started to appreciate it later on, because it's something that could bring a lot of positivity into my life, therapeutically, mentally, and physically, because it keeps me home and out of trouble. Um, so yeah, that's sort of how that started me in terms of getting into music. As far as me being an artist, after recording, like at first I would record and mix all these instruments, and I would start to see progress in those, but it was very hard to come across a vocalist, So I'm like, damn, like, whatever, let me try to use my voice. Little by little, I just started to get more comfortable, and then eventually I ended up starting out as a pop artist at first, because I wanted to keep my image clean. And this is around when I was 17, 18 years old. And then little by little, I started working with R&B artists, rap artists. I started becoming friends with a lot of artists from around the way. And it just, when you're in that circle, it's just, I was doing rap songs, R&B songs, pop songs. I was very diverse with my style. So now I'm starting to form a game plan with it, as far as my productions and also me as an artist. But that's going to be probably, this coronavirus kind of put a halt
Yeah.
on everything, boxing and music for me. So they kind of go hand in hand now. A lot of people may think that they don't go together, but for me, especially when you have a studio in your house, um, for me it does go together, because I'll go to the gym. I'm here expressing myself in one aspect, very physical. Um, then I come home and I might be worn out physically, but I'm ready to sit at my desk and just relax and just use a different part of the brain. And you know what I mean? It's very therapeutic in other areas that maybe boxing may not be. So I really found a way to, at least in my head, manipulate it to work together, So, um, and the music that will be coming out is going to be very organic towards just who I am. It's, I'm not going to go the rap route, you know what I mean? Which I think I'm going to do the songwriting in that aspect, because I have connections in the industry. But as far as me as an artist, it's just going to be real vibes, singing stuff. It could be some melodic stuff here and there, but I like real instrumentation. I like all that stuff. So just trying to bring that organic feel back into the music, you know.
Yeah, I dig it. Cause like the first joint I heard from you was like an R&B song, and I remember I messaged you and was like, "Yo, that joint is dope." Like you had
Uh,
played it, you had played like a clip of it on your IG, and I was like, "Yeah, this dude get in on that." And then I'm scrolling through, and I see you dropping dudes. Like I was like, "Oh, and he's nice in boxing." So I
yeah,
mean,
man.
for me, we're used to seeing athletes, you know, hop in and out from music and sports. It kind of go hand in hand. They always say ballers want to be rappers, rappers want to be ballers. You know, so
Yeah,
sports always go hand in hand with music. And it was my first time I actually seen a boxer besides, you know, like Roy Jones, you know,
yeah,
fool with the music scene or the music part of it, and still is putting in work in the ring. You know, because the first boxer I ever seen spit a flow or even be involved with music was Roy Jones. So
yeah.
that was dope to me. And I'm scrolling through, I see you dropping people. Then I start doing my research. I was like, is this dude nice for real? Or these highlights? Because you know, social media, it will skew
No, yeah.
stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
People will show the highlights, but you the real deal. 19 knows,
Yeah.
you know, you're
In
getting it
fact,
in.
I gotta upload more because I haven't really been on my game with that. Like I have to start really utilizing the powerhouse of this fucking social media, of the
Mhm.
social
No,
media,
you
man.
good.
Like, yeah, I wanna, you know, I never was one to have, and I would criticize it a lot. You know, I would see dudes come to the gym with cameramen all the time. Like it's cool if you try to promote a fight coming up or whatever. But when they got the phone out and the whole workout, they're lagging, right? They're slacking the whole workout, and then they take the phone out and they go, all right, cool, and they do
Yeah,
their flurry. Like it just I saw so much of that that it kind of turned me off to it. But it's all about the approach, man, and it's all about how you handle that. So I already have a ton of content, visual content that's coming out and professionally made with red cameras, you know what I mean? Like some dope cinematic stuff, you know. Everything that I'm gonna put out, whether it's music, visuals, music videos, boxing content, it's all gonna be emotional, it's all gonna be passionate, bro. That's the only way people get ahead and they stay. You know what I mean? People will relate to you when you're passionate. When I start telling my boxing story and all this stuff in a more detailed way through visuals and stuff, um, they're gonna hear about the true aspects of boxing. It's dark, man. This stuff is not a Rocky movie all the time. It's not you're running and you have 1,000 supporters behind you running with you. It's not like that. And it's a very lonely, dark sport. So there's a lot to talk about and shine on that aspect. And I feel like not only will boxers relate, but the general public will relate because it's something that is a constant growing problem today, like depression and things like that that are very paralleled with sports, you know, and certain type of sports anxieties, you know, that athletes may not be understanding about themselves, you know, which I didn't understand at first, but as I started to do more research on it, and Tyson Fury actually came out and spoke a lot about that on his Joe Rogan podcast, um, just about his mental state and the thought process of him and how it really can affect the fighter is really it's really something really unique, bro. It's really crazy.
yeah. Because I mean, if we get into your greats, the greatest of all times, we see inside the ring us as fans, we're seeing the entertainment aspect of it. Oh, we seeing, oh, he dropped. We always want knockouts. We want this. And behind the scenes, every day y'all step foot in the ring, that could be your life. You know, we've seen it in the last year or so. We have lost like 2 boxers in the ring. You know,
Yeah,
and so that's a thought that goes through your mind when you step into that ring. The only other sport I could think of when people's lives on the line is football, just because of the contact. But the blows to the head, everything. Boxing itself is a gruesome sport. The training is very intense. I mean, so I could see how it could weigh on you guys or weigh on you on your family and your loved ones every time you get
hmm
into that ring, and your opponent is not looking to lose, and you're not looking to lose, and it can become a very, very dangerous thing. So I could understand that aspect of it. You know,
no, yeah, definitely.
there's there's definitely ups and downs with boxing, and you know, I've done my research, and you had your downs, you had your injury, and
Hmm.
you know you stepped away to get everything right on that. But you're still a warrior. You came back a little earlier, you know, than what the doctor recommended. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's sort of, you know, why the whole I had to take some time off. That's sort of what it was. And at the time, I kept it under wraps, so a lot of people didn't even know. Um, you know, and yeah, basically, I was training for a fight, sparring, and I was sparring a guy that he was very wild. I shouldn't have been sparring him, and he wasn't even in my own weight class. So, you know, we were sparring, and whatever. He moved into my arm because he was running into me on some crazy whatever. And at this point, I never really suffered a real injury. So I tweaked my shoulder, and I'm like, oh man, you know, we got to call it off. You know, it's the sparring, you know, the training. We got to call it off today. I iced it for 2 days, and I was right back in the gym. So in my head, like us fighters, we get these injuries all the time. So I didn't really think anything different at this time. So I go and I fight. This fight is at the Prudential Center. I'm fighting a guy named Peter Oluch. And then first round, I knock him out with the left, actually.
Mhm.
And then 2 weeks later, you know, I take a little downtime, and I noticed that the pain was getting worse, and I wasn't even using it. That's when I'm like, oh, something's wrong here, you know. And basically, it was torn. Um, but I had gotten, I went to this famous, you know, facility in New York City, the Hospital for Special Surgery. They had Peyton Manning there, Eli, all these guys, and the guy repaired my shoulder as if I wasn't a professional athlete. You know, he just he I don't know how to say it, but he basically like closed the tear, um, like just enough. You know, he
Right.
didn't really anchor it down and use what he needed to do for me to be able to, you know, throw it again in the way I was. And this left hook, that was my power, that was my money shot. So all of a sudden, you know, I started recovering, whatever. They're telling me 8 to 10 months, and I was back in the gym within 3. So I think my surgery was in like June or somewhere around there, and then I was already back in the gym by like October or something like that. And that's unheard of, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really do that because keep in mind, I had to go to the gym and train for the fight. It's not just about, oh well, the fight was 4 or 5 months away. Like, no, I had to go and start using that arm. And it got to the point where in the beginning I wasn't even able to run because of the impact on the shoulder.
Mhm.
So you really just have to be a couch potato, man, and you gain a bunch of weight. You know, you're on these medications, and they make you crazy and loopy, and it's just I never experienced something like that in my life. So I got through that, but after 2 years, like fighting with that pain, I thought that was just how my arm was gonna be. Um, so I went and got another MRI after 2 years of fighting with this constant pain, and they told me that the tear reopened a little bit, and I had to go through extensive rehab with no type of contact for me to get my arm back, and that's what I had to do. And I was out for another 2 years. So that was in 2017, and I only fought like once or twice. And after that is when I realized, yeah, the shoulder's not good, man. I have to go back and get another MRI, see what's going on with this, and that's why pretty much I actually been out for a little more than two years, you know, because in 2017 it was just that one fight.
Right.
So
The impressive thing though, even with fighting through that, you still was able to win your matches. You still was getting it in. I
yeah,
mean,
man.
we could see how it was before you hurt your shoulder and then the effects it had on you while it was injured,
Yeah.
but you still made it out. And the best thing is now is fully rehab, you're getting going, and then the virus hits. So everybody's affected around the world from it. Sports is totally affected by it. And now through this whole process of us having to be at home due to the virus, what is your thoughts going through your head as far as preparing for
Yeah.
when that time comes, you can step into the ring again?
Well, honestly, I actually got the arm back about a year and a half ago. My comeback fight was in July of 2019. I had a fight there, then I had a fight in October and then again in December. So I had some time, and the main thing wasn't even the fights. It's really the training camps, making sure that this can hold up through all the vigorous training I'm doing. But the fight's easy. The fight is small gloves. You know, in training, you're training with heavy gloves. You're doing heavy rounds, and you know, it's a longer process, harder. It's more hard on the body. So, but let me touch on something real quick. That's actually why I don't have as many knockouts as, like, I'm supposed to have more, like, in my head. You know, I'm supposed to be like 19-0 with like 16 or 17 knockouts. Like,
Yeah.
but when I was fighting for those 2 years with the tear still, like, it reopened, I'm like, man, like, I'm hitting these guys with this shot and the power's not there anymore. So that kind of forced me to up other aspects of my game. That's when I developed a better jab. That's when I developed better head movement, better footwork. Now I feel like I'm more of a complete fighter because of this injury. So we turned it around, and you know what I mean? We noticed and we adapted to what was changing about our body. And now that I have my arm back and I'm extremely healthy, I could go and bang now. I could do that again. Or I could go and be smart and open you up first and be very tactical and, you know, strategic. Um, but things like that, you know, as far as the sports world, all this going on, you it's important for athletes to not think selfishly in these moments. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, like, my life is this. Oh, what am I going through? That everybody is going through it, man. And this is the first time that I feel like a lot of people have experienced this in their life. So everyone's still adjusting on whether you own a business, whether you're a professional athlete, whether you're it doesn't matter, whether you're a comedian, it could be, you know, it doesn't, it's just the entertainment industry in general kind of took a hit. But I feel like in this day and age, people are very intelligent with finding ways to get around these things, you know. So little by little, man, I'm doing all my training and everything I need to do. I did have a fight July 7th, but it got postponed to early August, I believe. And that's going to be in Vegas. My company, Top Rank, that's what they're doing now. They're the ones hosting the shows on ESPN. So they have like their own like personal section in the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, and it's like quarantined off. They call it the bubble. So that's pretty much where all the fighters have been fighting in the last like 2 weeks. I think they do about 2 shows a week around there. And yeah, a lot of people are getting them to fight on that ESPN platform, which they're not used to, you know, because they're airing all the fights instead of just 1 or 2 fights. So a lot of people are getting their shine. There's no crowds, so it could be kind of weird. It seems like it's a sparring match, you know, but whatever, man. You know, we're just finding a way to adjust. The most important thing is to realize, you know, the valuable things in life during these times. You know, you should be grateful and appreciative of all those things. I've been spending a lot more time with my family, you know, and just understanding, just perceiving life in a different way, man. You know, that's what you have to take out of these moments, you know. And I always try to look in the good and take positivity from a situation. So that's sort of what we're doing now, man. You know, I haven't gotten a haircut, so that's the only negative that I'm, you know, but all everything else, man, is good, man. Thank God everyone in my family is safe, you know. So that's what I care about most.
Because like right now, it is a weird. The world seems crazy right now. If we was to just focus on just the news, we have the virus, we have the protests and the police brutality thing. You know, it's just a lot of stuff going on in the world, and it's enough to make the average person crazy. And usually, when things are going on in the world, we decompress by music and being able to turn on the TV and watch sports. But now we're seeing we can't even do that now. We can't watch sports. I mean, we can watch old stuff, but there's no current sports going around in the world. Some artists are not really putting out music. It's just like a strange time in the world that we've never seen before in our lifetime. And so it's good that you're able to just still put your focus on family and the things that's important, because a lot of people are still trying to figure out how. You know, a lot of people that never been on social media is relying on social media more. But the only positive there are some positives from it. I see people that are getting outside more, stepping away from their phones and their laptops. And my neighborhood, people riding bikes all the time. You know, I wasn't used to just seeing a bunch of families and stuff on their bikes or taking walks and stuff. So there are positives to it. You know, I mean, I don't know how it is up there, but for us, they kind of open things back up, man. It's kind of crazy. You got people at these bars and full like this virus never went away. It's crazy. They open some stores up little by little. You know, they practice the social distancing thing, but up there, you guys hit up there in New York and the New Jersey area, and man.
Yeah, things are starting to open up here too. But like I said, I have a fight coming up, and I've also been around people that have had it. You know what I mean? So like, I'm being very careful. You know what I mean? I just let me rephrase that. I haven't been around many people that had it, but I know a lot of people that have caught it. You know what I mean? So it's out there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be out there if I don't have to be. So I go to the gym, I come back. I'm at my family's house, I come back. That's it. You know. But yeah, there are finally opening things back up in the last like week or two. You know, doing like half inside restaurants, half outdoor. I think they're starting to do that. We'll see. You know.
Because I'm here in Florida, we hit a record number of new cases in one day. It's crazy down here, man, as far as viruses. And people still out at the beach and stuff like that. It's crazy. You wouldn't even know from some of these people this virus exists. And I know people who have family members who have passed and have gotten it. And it's crazy how people don't think it's real, you know?
Yeah. It's ignorance, man.
Yeah. Moving on from that, you know, on a better note, there's other interesting things about you in this whole boxing thing. And one thing that I find very interesting is you linked up with Jay Prince, you know, notorious Jay Prince, Jay Prince Sr. You know, how did that come about? And he's managing you, right?
Yeah, he's my boxing manager. I've actually, you know, this boxing community is very small. So as like I said previously, I was always ranked #1 in the country coming up, you know, 16, 17 years old, whatever, at all these tournaments. And I would see him there. You know, he would be looking at the new next talent. I was at the trials when I believe one of Andre Ward's, I think it was 2008 Olympic trials in Houston. And I think Andre Ward had a family member that was competing. So Andre Ward came and he brought Jay. And I've seen these guys every few months or every couple years. You know what I mean? It's the boxing world is really just a big family. You know what I mean? Growing up, we're at the same tournaments. We're here training, living the same life. You know what I mean? When I'm 45, 50 years old, it doesn't matter if I fought you 5 times, if we had bad blood, if we hated each other, you're still a part of my memory. I'll remember you for the rest of my life, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and that I hold, a lot of fighters don't see it that way. You know what I mean? But I see life in a whole different way, man. Like I've seen these kids with me, man, where we've all stayed in the same hotels. We've all been in the same areas like Missouri. Who the hell goes there? You know what I mean? Like, but all of us from all over the country would consistently see each other there every year. And then after the fights, we'd all have, you know, we would take over the whole floor of the hotel room and do pillow fights, you know, New York versus Cali, you know, like just crazy things like that. These are memories that we'll never forget, you know. So I cherish those things. But like I said, with Jay, it was we saw each other every now and then. He always would compliment my fighting style. Yo, man, I like that little Spanish boy, man. I like that Spanish boy. Like, and you know what? We were ready to turn pro. You know, he's shown interest, Jay, but we were already in motion with the other manager, as I previously told you. It was right after the Golden Gloves. They wanted to put me in right with my teammate and his management, because also the guy was from New Jersey, so we felt like he would be more hands-on. You know what I mean? We felt like he'd be more hands-on, but, you know, with all due respect to the guy, his office was 10 minutes from my gym, and in the years that he was managing me as a professional at this point, he never came to see me train one time.
Oh, wow.
Like things like that, you know, or when you have certain things and you're voicing your opinion on certain aspects of your contract, and you're very much entitled to what you're asking for by the money you're bringing, and also by comparing the other fighters in your division or whatever, not bringing the same money or even close. there's just blatant things that are slaps in the face in this business, you know. And we've grown to learn that no matter how close you feel like somebody is, or how nice or whatever, you got to judge somebody by their action and their determination to want to do for you. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the more money you make me, the more money you're going to make yourself. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have guys that just feel entitled, or they feel like, oh, we'll just wait until, you know, you do everything, what, you know, and they just ride the cult. Like, you know what I mean? They don't put in the work anymore. So I felt like, you know what, man, I feel like I gotta find someone that's gonna fight for me a little more, you know. I was even asking to do free stuff, you know, go to charities, go to, you know, and these are things that they were doing on their own. You know, I would love to do those things, or take me with you when you go here, or, you know, like, there's very easy ways to build up a fighter for free, you know, and they weren't even doing that. So um, it rubbed me the wrong way. Um, and we just felt like we had to go a different route. So I bought out my contract previously from my previous manager. And then I noticed a lot of the Rap A Lot people and a lot of Rap A Lot affiliates followed me. So I reached out, and once I explained, like, whatever, I'm sure that, you know, they remembered me, or whatever, or, you know, from the years. Um, but they flew me out. I spoke to Mike Prince. Shout out to Mike. That's my co-manager also.
Okay.
Um, he linked me with Jay, gave me the number, all that stuff. And Jay flew us out, me and my team, to his mansion in Vegas. And that was the same day that Canelo fought Triple G the first time.
Okay.
And we sat in his office. He has my fights. He has my fights on the screen. He's watching my skills. He likes what he sees. Um, you know, and he's seen me fight professionally also, because he's been in New York City for a lot of his fights too. So he remembered, man, and basically he was just like, I don't understand what the issue is. Why aren't you ranked yet? Why, you know, do you have an interim belt? Like, why you're 16, 17 and 0 at this point? Why aren't you, you know, this? And then I would tell him the numbers I was bringing in as ticket sales, and as a 4-rounder, 6-rounder, you know what I mean? And not for nothing, but at the time, especially when I was coming up, when I didn't even have tattoos, I made sure that I kept my image clean. You know, that's why I didn't even do rap music or R&B. I wanted to be pop, because it went with my image. Here, like, you know, I spoke well. Um, you know, I'm a clean cut kid. I wasn't on my social media cursing this and that and saying
Mhm.
this. I really tried to protect my brand in hopes that they would build this American fighter. You know what I mean? When was the last time an American fighter was built by a company? It's been decades, man. Like, you know what I mean? And it's weird how now these companies, they have a source of entitlement where it's like, you know, I guess day and age, things are changing, but I just felt like for a while, my management dropped the ball on that. You know, you don't see tatted up guys on cereal boxes, and you don't see, you know, in my head, I felt like they'd rather put a clean cut kid with no tattoos, you know, that speaks well on HBO, as opposed to a guy who doesn't speak English and has tattoos on his face, you know.
Mhm.
And it's not just that. I was bringing the money too. I was bringing the company owners. I'm bringing the guys who own businesses, and they bring their whole staff with them to the show. You know, and they weren't even putting my name on a flyer in my own hometown. It's
Wow.
just weird stuff. And if I asked for a co-main event slot, they they looked at me like I was crazy, but they put in a guy from Oklahoma who didn't fucking sell 10 tickets. You know what I mean? Like, it, business wise, it didn't even make sense. And it's not like if they put the effort in, I would have, you know, I wouldn't have made them money also. It was easy. You know, they felt some type of way, and whatever, man. It is what it is. That's water under the bridge. But as moving forward, I got with Jay, and so far, you know, he's been putting in the work. My everything is progressing in terms of what I wanted. All my outside of the ring things are also being taken care of. Um, so I'm definitely in a better position where I feel like I have uh, more leverage with my company. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Jay is more of a voice and he's more of a business oriented, guy. So I feel like they respect what he says.
Yeah, from history, Jay Prince hold a lot of weight in the industry for music and everything. But as far as a man, as his book says, he's always been a man of his word. So you with good company. He's a legend in his own right, and you're building your legend as you go into your career, and it could only go up from here. It can only go up from
Yeah,
here.
actually, when I went to officially sign the contract, so I went to Vegas. Actually, that day, he, um, after we were in agreement, whenever everything was good, he was going to send over a contract. He actually gave my team and I all ringside tickets to the Canelo Triple G. And I
Yo,
looked down; those things are $5,000 a piece. He's giving them out 4 or 5 of them, and we're like, damn, like okay, cool. Um, and actually, so we ended up leaving Vegas. We went back to training in Jersey, and then he sent over the contract. And then when I actually went down to Houston to go sign it. And I spent a lot of time with Jay during this time, and I was there for almost a year. And so I was around him. I was staying in his building with him. Um, and the guy, man, no matter how many interviews you do, I mean, no matter how many interviews you read about the guy or you listen to, or everything you read about the guy, when I got there, I realized I only knew about 30% of this man. Just the things that he opened me up to in a certain time of my life where I was going through some things. Um, it was just very refreshing to me, and he allowed me to perceive life in a different way. Um, he would take me to church with him. He took me to his grandmother's house to for Sunday dinner, things like that. When he brings you around a family environment, like all his associates and all his family members and stuff down there in Houston, it's just a real it really is like a family, like a family oriented thing. Like you do feel a level of not only protection but motivation, like because everyone in there is grinding to do something. There's not one weak person in that whole circle. Everyone is doing what is on the grind to do something. This guy is producing, so he's in the lab every day. This one is trying to find artists, so he's presenting deals and trying to find and manipulate ways to gain traction to his lives, so people could pay him and they could get his music heard by Boosie and all these people. The nightlife aspect, the way that they do business in terms of nightlife there and shows, and it's just amazing, man. And they really are good people. That's why they're able to do so much good business. You know what I mean? So that's my experience with them. He's shown me. He This was actually before the book came out, and we were riding in his Rolls Royce every day, and he put it on the audio book so we could listen. And whatever he's talking about in the book, he's driving by showing me. And this is a
yo,
guy that I'm sure, when I was next to him, his phone didn't stop ringing. You know what I mean? And he had the time to sit there and take me. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm an up and coming fighter. There's no big presence around me. You know what I mean? Um, and I'm sure he's driven down those streets doing the same thing. And I hear for Drake, I hear for Rev Run, I hear for so many people. You know what I mean? That he's been around, and here he is doing the same thing to me. Me and him alone, going to church, taking me to eat, talking to me about things, and it just showed me a different aspect of you know of him. The guy could press a button and he makes shit move, man. And that's like the least greatest thing about that guy, in
yo.
my opinion. Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
you got the
He's
right
always
people.
checking in. He's always checking in. He's he definitely has he definitely cares for his fighter, and that's something that's very rare, man, in this sport. He cares for people, man. He does.
That's dope. You got the right people in your corner. You're disciplined. You know, you do your thing. What would you want for you as far as the future in this sport? What do you want best for yourself when it comes down to it? Because you're in the let me not get this wrong. It's the super lightweight division.
Yeah, super lightweight, junior welterweight. It's the same thing.
Same
It's
thing.
140. Yeah.
So, you know, after you cipher through your opponents on this, would you like to move up in rank, or I mean, as far as weight, or what is your goals or your next future, you know, set points on what you want to
Well,
do in the boxing world?
I have some pretty nice step up fights coming up, which I've been asking for. You know, these are things that, aside from when I was injured, you know, when I was injured, you know, you need tune-up fights. You need to make sure the arm holds up. You need time to pass while you're training. You know, it's not really, I told you, it's not really about the fight in times like that. It's about getting through those training camps and making sure that you're healthy. And then once you feel like you have a grasp on the training camps, then, well, at least for me, then I was ready. You know, you could put me with whoever, man. I've been calling out these names for a while. So the 140, I want all of them. You know, I want all of them. I'll tackle them one by one, top rank, line them up. That's what we've been training for that, you know. But now that they're offering some step up fights where the purses are matching the fights, and I feel like I'm getting what I deserve. And you know, once you start fighting on that level, it's really about how you look and how you're putting these guys away. You know, the more attention you draw to yourself, the more you're gonna have leverage for those bigger fights. And with that being said, you know, my hard work, the way that I'm gonna be looking in these fights coming up, and also in combination with my management, with Jay Prince and Mike Prince, you know, that's all the leverage I need to do whatever I want in this sport, man. You know, so, and he's growing his stock in Top Rank as well. He has about, I think, like 7 or 8 fighters he's signing to Top Rank already. So he's already has a big stock, and he's very valuable to Top Rank, man. So he's gonna use that and be very strategic with his relationship.
Man, all this is dope, man. I wish you the best. I want to see you rise and get that respect that you deserve in the boxing world, man, because, you know, truth be told, we watch boxing, we only hear about a certain amount of names, you know, and it's usually in the upper weight divisions. I mean, besides, you know, you heard about Mayweather, of course he's retired, he comes out of retirement, we don't know. But besides those names and the heavyweights, the Deontay Wilders and Tyson Furies, we never really hear about the lower weights and the new emerging names coming out of that. So I want to see you be able to be elevated and the great stuff that comes for you, brother. And I appreciate you locking in with me, man. Is there anything you want to say to your following and your people right now?
Man, I just thank you guys. Thank you for having me on the show, man. Just follow me on my social medias at Team Hammerhands. You know what I mean? And I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Keep watching, keep supporting, man. You're gonna see the come up, man. It's been a long time, bro. And I have a lot of content that's coming out too, to to show more about who I am and my personality and things like that. So I feel like a lot of people will enjoy that, man. So just be on the lookout, man.
I'm definitely gonna be locked in. I'm gonna be putting people on your stuff. Hey, view this dude. You like boxing, you like that? Check this guy out. So, hey, man, just lock in. Stay up with me. I'm gonna stay up with you, and I mean that. And let's build from there, man. I appreciate you doing this with me. So I appreciate you checking out the Living Room Podcast, man.
Appreciate you, man. And I saw you do music too. You do music, right?
Yeah, I do music. I DJ. And then,
bro,
you know,
let me
podcast,
know, man. We'll work together, bro. I'll send over some beats, man. Maybe we do something, man.
Let's do it. I'm all for it.
All right, brother.
All right, most definitely. Appreciate it.